Members, this is the appointed time. We have a quorum, so let's start the meeting. Item 1, information paper issued since the last meeting. The Secretariat received some information papers, and you will find the details on the agenda. Item 2, items for discussion at the next meeting. The next regular meeting will be held at 8:30 in the morning, Monday, 16th of March 2026. We're going to discuss 2 items. First, review of the income and asset limits for public rental housing in 2026-2027. B, a proposal to create a supernumerary directorate post under the Housing Bureau to lead and supervise the task force on subdivided units under the Housing Bureau in implementing the basic housing unit regulatory regime. Any comments, members? I see none. As for Chair and Deputy Chair of the panel, they will meet with the administration to discuss the work plan for the panel meetings in 2026 on the 10th of February. The next item is policy briefing by the Housing Bureau. The administration has issued a paper. So let me welcome the Secretary for Housing and her team to our meeting. We're joined by the Secretary for Housing, Ms. Estrella Zhang, Acting Permanent Secretary for Housing, Mr. Daniel Leung, Deputy Director of Housing, Mr. Michael Hong, Deputy Director of Housing, Mr. Cyrus Zhang, Acting Deputy Secretary for Housing, and also Mr. Jason Chan, Acting Deputy Secretary for Housing. So let me welcome the administration to our meeting. I will first invite Secretary for Housing to deliver opening remarks. So please walk us through the policy initiatives. She will do so with the aid of a PowerPoint. Members, I see that those who wish to speak have pressed the request to speak button. Right, thank you, Chair. I'd also like to thank members of the panel on housing of this legislative term. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Chair, Deputy Chair, as well as members of the last term's panel on housing. I'm going to brief members on our work in the past 3 years or so, but I'd like to say that it's all due to the good work of this panel so that we could complete the tasks effectively. I thank members for your invaluable input during the policy formulation stage, and we have had very good communication. And when it comes to implementation of policies, members gave us advice and comments to help us improve. I hope that this dialogue will continue in the new term so that we have a favorable atmosphere for discussion. The video just shows you our work in 2025, and there are ongoing projects in 2026. This video was produced in 2025. Now, we cited some figures in the video, but I'd say that the numbers have increased in 2026. When it comes to the housing ladder, I think members are all familiar with our ladder, and we provide, for example, public rental housing for low-income families. We also have other forms of subsidized housing, such as the HOS, to cater for families with different levels of affordability. And this is unique to Hong Kong. The work of our bureau is to make sure that this housing ladder can cater for the needs of different strata of society. Now, in the past, we did not do much about subsidized housing in the middle, but in the recent years, we have substantially increased the supply of public rental housing as well as subsidized sale flats, so that for low to middle income families with home ownership aspirations, they'll be able to buy subsidized sale flats. But let's not forget that there are families which have not even reached the first rung of the ladder. They are still waiting to be allocated with the public housing or subsidized sale flats. In the past, there were problems with increasing land supply, but in the past 3 years, we have been able to reverse the trend. And at the same time, whilst applicants are waiting for public housing, we provide other options to tide them over. For example, we have transitional housing, and under the leadership of this term of government, we also rolled out the light public housing initiative as well. And we made extra efforts in tackling the long-standing problem of subdivided units. We rolled out the basic housing unit regulatory regime, and in the coming 10 years, 294,000 public housing were produced, and there will also be 21,000 transitional housing units, 19,400 light public housing. So that's 35,000 for this year. And the Housing Authority also looks after its tenants. We have 197 housing estates comprising 840,000 households and over 2 million population. And we have 740,000 residents above the age of 60. So that's 200,000 more than a decade ago. We need to keep up with the times, to leverage on technology to help older residents, and also about reversing the trend. Comparing to the second 5-year period, for the first 5-year period, we have adopted a ratio of 6:4, which is a balancing exercise in terms of housing production. Now, by 2026-27, 30,000 light public housing units will be produced, and for average waiting time, it has dropped by 1 year to 5.1 comparing to the peak, and we still need to further compress the waiting time by about 0.6 down to 4.5 years as the target average waiting time. As for overall public housing production, we have increased the number by 80% for Northern Metropolis. There will be parcels of land ready for development. There will be public housing as well. 66,000 units will be produced, mostly in Kutong North, Fanling North, and Hung Shui-Kiu. The first project, called Feng Wanglang Estate and Guzheng Estate, will be completed by the end of 2026. Waiting time, I've covered that. Light public housing. The average waiting time is 3.1 years, and that's 2 years quicker than applicants for public rental housing. They'll be allocated with light public housing sooner. So let's take a look at the queues. We are shortening these queues. For general applicants, there's a drop of 30% comparing to the peak, and non-elderly singleton applicants down by 40%. In fact, for applicants under the age of 30, the drop is as drastic as 50%. I'd like to thank the professional institutions of different sectors in granting us awards in terms of the well-being, design, planning, as well as green building standards. We're able to achieve awards and will continue to do our level best. Public housing policy. I will now give the floor to Mr. Zhang, the Permanent Secretary, to speak on that. Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, members. I will now explain the public rental housing policy in Hong Kong. We start with the well-off tenant policy. The objective is very clear. We need to ensure proper and rational use of public housing resources. We need to increase the turnover of public housing units as well. We have 48,000 well-off tenants accounting for 6% of total. They are now paying additional rent. As for those who are required to vacate the units, they include those not meeting the meeting the conditions. For example, household income exceeding 5 times the prevailing income limits, or the total net asset value exceeding 100 times. And having discussed with the Subsidized Housing Committee in March last year, we imposed an enhanced arrangement, and that is if the household income exceeds the PRH income limit by 2.5 times or 2 times and less than 3 times, then the tenant will be required to pay 2.5 times net rent plus rates. And if the income exceeds 5 times the income limit or above, then the tenant will be required to leave the unit. And if it happens twice, or if it happens within the 2 declaration cycles, again, the tenants will be required to vacate the unit. At the same time, we want to encourage them to move up the housing ladder. We have, for example, other initiatives to encourage them to do so. We have, for example, adjusted the green form to right form ratio from 40/60 to 50/50, so that there are more chances for them to buy HOS flats, and they can also retain their green form status for up to 4 years. At the same time, we proactively tackle the problem of abuse. With the support of the panel on housing last year, the Legislative Council also passed the Housing Amendment Ordinance. For serious abuse cases, under the new law, they will be regarded as criminal offenses. We also have a report public housing abuse award scheme. So through this multi-pronged approach, as you can see, we have been able to recover more public housing units year by year. By now, we have recovered up to 9,800 public housing units, and taking the unit cost of $1 million as the basis, we have managed to save up to $10 billion through this exercise. Redevelopment. The Housing Authority has kick-started 11 redevelopment projects, and together with the model housing estate, altogether 12. I won't read out all the names, but these redevelopment projects also include factory estates. Now, we've recently made announcements in relation to Matawai Estate and Saiwan Estate. For Matawai Estate, originally the project will be divided into 3 phases, totaling 14 years, and that would take a long time. Apart from the existing estates in To Hua Wan, we also managed to find 400 more units in San Mei Dong estate for rehousing, so that we can compress the time frame to just 2 phases of redevelopment, and we can speed things up by 7 years. And we are inspired by this project. For example, if we further relax the rules and widen the scope to cover other neighboring areas, then we can speed things up further. For Saiwan Estate, it's of a smaller scale, and the whole estate can be relocated, and the whole neighborhood can move to a new place. Cohesion can be maintained. Some say that this new site will be situated right up the hill, and be reassured we're going to build lifts and escalators, and there will be proper barrier-free access as well, not to mention public transport services. Now, the model housing estate is the oldest estate. It was built in 72 years ago. It covered only some 667 units, and we are striving for resources for the redevelopment project. On subsidized sale flats, I'll give the floor to the PS again. Subsidized sale flats form a major rung on the housing ladder. Our goal is to enrich the housing ladder, and that means we must increase the appeal of subsidized sale flats by providing more units, providing bigger units, and giving applicants more chances in the balloting exercise. Now, as the Secretary mentioned, in terms of overall public housing, our priority is to increase its supply. And we also adjust the ratio of GSH and subsidized sale flats from 7:3 to 6:4. And against this backdrop, in the next 5 years, the number of SSFs available will be 50% more than the number that this current term of government started with in the past 5 years. And this will give us room to do more. And we've also introduced a minimum floor area requirement. Starting from 2026-24, the subsidized sale flat must have at least 26 square meters of area. And there will also be more units of a bigger size, usually 400 square foot or above. And half of the new HOS flats for sale have adopted a new layout, so that when you open the door, you will see windows instead of the toilet. And we've also allocated extra ballots to various applicants. For example, for those who have made repeated attempts, as well as young white farmers, they will be given extra chances. The other category of applicants is families with newborns flat selection priority scheme. As the title suggests, they will be given priority and extra ballots will be given. Now, I just covered HOS flats in the allocation exercise, and I now turn to the secondary market. It's a major source of the supply of HOS flats. And within this term of government, we have gradually increased the amount from 4,500 to 7,000, 2,000 of which are allocated to applicants under the age of 40. And those who are given quotas may not in the end buy HOS flats. So based on this experience, we are giving out letters of approval in the number that exceeds the available quotas, so that we can make sure that the quotas are exhausted. Next, 70% of these flats for sale will be made available for families with median household monthly median household income reached, and that they should not use more than 40% of their monthly income to repay mortgage. And there is a discount for HOS ranging from 30 to 49%. That's 10% more even for GSH. And according to this illustration here, on average, the HOS is sold for 2.7 million. And if you take out the 90% mortgage, then you make monthly payment of $11,000. And again, for GSH, the other example, monthly repayment $11,000. I now turn to other policy measures rolled out in the Policy Address 2025. First, on the HOS market, we have relaxed the alienation restriction of subsidized sale flats from 15 years of ownership to 10 years. And the HA and the Housing Society also rolled out a pilot scheme which relaxes the letting restrictions for subsidized sale flats with premium unpaid, so that the flat can be let to some eligible white form applicants. 3,000 quotas will be provided under the scheme. The next one is flat for flat scheme for elderly owners. Eligible owners include those who have owned the flat for over 10 years and all the household members have reached the age of 60 or above. And under the scheme, the elderly owner will be able to sell the subsidized sale flat in the secondary market with premium unpaid, and then buy a subsidized sale flat with premium unpaid of a smaller size in a more remote location. As for private housing, we have an annual review by the Long-Term Housing Strategy Committee, and according to the latest review, the total supply target is 420,000 in the coming decade, whilst maintaining the ratio of 7:3. For the private housing target in the coming 10 years, it stands at 126,000. Now, it is also our policy objective to maintain healthy development of the private property market as well. So against this backdrop, we scrapped all the special stamp duty arrangements and demand side property management measures in 2024. As announced in the budget 2025, we raised the maximum value of residential and non-residential properties eligible for the $100 nominal stamp duty from $3 million to $4 million, so as to alleviate the burden on these buyers. Light public housing, 13 projects, including those converted from vacant school premises. These projects are gradually being completed, including 4 newly built estates and 2 converted from vacant school premises, such as Saiwan Road in Kai Tak. For the first phase, 3,000 units will be provided, and in the next phase, 7,000 will be provided. Intake will start gradually in the second half of this year. For Yau Pok Road, it only took 1 year from land resumption to intake. Choi Hing Road project, the site used to be a warehouse for the water supply department, and then we went through piling works and we built an 19-story building with escalators as well. The first intake started just 1.5 years since the beginning of the construction, and now the intake has completed. Residents are really content. They receive visitors. Now I took the minister in Singapore to Choi Hing Road project for a visit as well. And when he went back, I read his blog online, and he talks about the technologies adopted in Choi Hing Road, which help speed things up. And there are also other projects, the first phase in Kai Tak as well as Ching Fuk Lane in Tuen Mun. It's right in front of the LRT station, so it's very convenient. It comes with very good public transport connectivity. Now, the two projects converted from school premises, they provide not many units, just roughly over 100, but then there are also activity rooms which allow residents to use, and there'll be more options for bigger rooms. This happened some time ago when the chief executive visited one of the projects, and we saw how happy the residents were, because the level of rent has come down. It really lifts the burden off residents' shoulders. Children will have room to play as well. They can maintain good relations with their neighbors. People feel safe allowing their children to go out and play. Unlike subdivided units, children are often trapped in the units, and it affects their development. This one is about light public housing. This is how we managed to complete the project within just a year or so, starting from piling to construction. This is because we have leveraged on the manufacturing capability in the Greater Bay Area. At the work sites, robots are used, processes are streamlined in making these components. It comes with good quality as well. The quality of works is actually very good on site. Transitional housing, we have exceeded the target. The total number stands at 21,158. Category A applicants are eligible PRH tenants. Category B are those not waiting for public housing but have pressing housing needs. For Category C, this is a new category that we have created to cater for the needy residents. Transitional housing also helped affected residents in Wang Fuk Court. We did some stock taking and then we provided 1,400 transitional housing units for the affected residents. The transitional housing projects come with various supporting facilities. Even training is provided. So it's not just about hardware. We also have the supporting software in the form of social and welfare services to help residents in need. These projects are run by organizations. They are really committed to helping residents so as to enhance the sense of happiness.
The basic housing unit ordinance will come into operation on the 1st of March 2026. We understand that we need to have the market adapt to the new ordinance. We have 8 requirements. We hope that the landlords will fulfill the requirements and provide a safe and hygienic place for their tenants. This is our timetable. We have a 1-year-long registration period. We welcome landlords of all sorts of subdivided units to come and register. their flats, and we encourage them to do so as soon as possible because we have a grace period and we offer an early bird discount. After the landlords have registered their flats with us, they have 3 years' time to renovate their flats and handle all tenancy agreements issues. So altogether, we have a 4-year period for the landlords to adapt to the new requirements. We have a 1-year registration period and a 3-year of early bird period. We also have a community, we have 6 teams of a community service. When necessary, we may increase 1 or 2 community service teams to support tenants of subdivided units. We thank these service teams who help each and every tenants in need. They help them identify a place to move to, and they help negotiate with their landlords for tenancy extension, for example. Those who are eligible for PRH units, they can apply for it, and we try to help affected tenants as much as possible. Now we're on to housing technology. Now I will ask Mr. Leung, Deputy Director of Housing, to elaborate. Thank you. Now I'd like to talk about the development of our technology. We leverage on it to innovate, and we want to make Hong Kong a smart city and leverage on new quality productive forces. We aim to increase housing supply by enhancing efficiency. We rolled out the modular integrated construction methods, and we are trying to promote it. In 2024, together with NAMI, we have created a technology called Mi Smart Link. This is an enhanced MIC method. This will decrease the thickness of a structural wall by 15%, and it can simplify on-site assembly procedures of the first generation MIC. The Housing Authority play a very important role in promoting technology. We liaise with stakeholders very closely to create an MIC ecosystem, which include upstream, the labor, transformation, and technology. The Housing Authority is also created a digital management platform called HAPMAP, Housing Authority Project Information Management and Analytics Platform, which include digital twin and all sorts of technology. This has enhanced the speed of design, construction, and digital analysis. The workers of the construction industry is aging, and we have a shortage of labor in the industry. Through introducing construction robotics at 60 different construction projects, we are already adopting these robots. We have paint spraying robots, for example, and starting from the 4th quarter of 2025, we ask and mandate our contractors to make use of robotics in some of the construction procedures. Over the left right-hand corner, this is the BIM foundation design solution, which generates pile design approach, which lower our cost and lower the risk at the construction stage. In 2019, we rolled out the Smart Site Safety System. Through digital sensors and alert system, as well as a central management system, we have enhanced safety of our sites. At 190 construction projects, we have made use of this DCSMS development and construction site mobile system, which monitors in real time construction data, which has streamlined the workflow of management. We also have this new technology called the portable mobile mapping system, which make use of panoramic images and digital sensors, which generate 3D real-time models. This can completely replace visual detections by humans and reduce errors. This has enhanced our efficiency in documentation. Now let's look into the current development of MIC. We have developed some new technology. One of the projects is called MIC package, which was developed together with the School of Architecture of the Hong Kong University. The Housing Department in January 2024, together with NAMI, has signed a MOU. We have developed a smart crane, which has enhanced efficiency and safety of carrying materials in construction site. Another MOU was signed with NAMI to enhance the technology of MIC 2.0, along with other materials to enhance quality, safety, efficiency, and effectiveness of our housing projects. Last year, we have received multiple awards from the industry. We collected many awards, including the awards from the Hong Kong Building Information Association. We have received an Innovation Award from the Construction Industry Council. I think that this has shown the industry's recognition of our innovation. To further control cost, we have established a project facilitation office. This will enhance coordination and collaboration among different departments and bureaus so that we can enhance cost effectiveness and speed projects up. Let me give you an example. We have increased the loading of sedimentary rock in the northern metropolis. And this is an example of a cross-departmental collaboration among the Housing Department, the Buildings Department, the CEDD. We have increased the loading of the meta-sedimentary rock from 3,000 kPa to 5,000. This can save us cost, the price, the time, and risk. We expect that we will be able to save around $1.4 billion for the public housing projects in the northern metropolis. Please speed things up. Thank you. As we increase the housing supply, we'd like to enhance our service quality and efficiency through smart management. We have identified 10 estates as pilot estates to introduce new technology to monitor the usage of public facilities and public hygiene. To enhance enforcement efficiency, we have introduced AI to analyze CCTV footage to identify units that are in non-compliant with our regulations. We have also introduced drones to inspect the walls of public housing units and interior of the lifts. This can save us time and shorten the time when the lift is not in service. We also use AI to analyze the image of the walls of PRH buildings to enhance efficiency of monitoring and enhance safety. We have made use of technology to make our management more targeted. But as we manage public housing estates, we're not just managing the hardware, but also the people living inside, especially the elderly residents. In the newly built buildings, we are using a barrier-free design, and if necessary, we will renovate the units of elderly persons. Say, for example, as you can see in the PowerPoint slide, we widen the door of the toilets of needy elderly. We install handles in their toilets and bathrooms, and we install handle at their door and also adjust the height of the buttons. And we have also installed ramps at some of the doors of some units. At the lobbies, we also have installed handrails to make it safer for elderly persons, and we have also put in place some hooks so that they can place their or hang their cranes there. We have installed some leaning bench for residents. We listen to the tenants' views from time to time to enhance our facilities. Lifts are very important for people's commute. Starting from 2018, we have been installing lifts at 33 different estates, and we have installed 80 lifts, 4 escalators, and 6 footbridges altogether at different estates. We have also put in place many stools and chairs for elderly to relax and talk to their friends. We only have one goal for this. We hope to enhance the people's living environment through these minor changes. Starting from April 2025 at Kwun Tong and Ho Man Tin Shenlok Estates, we have put in place a pilot system. We install sensors at the doors of elderly persons so that their relatives know more about their activities so that we can take action when necessary. The sensors will inform the relatives and friends of the elderly if they have not left the home for some time so that we can help them.
The Housing Department also collaborates with the Social Welfare Department. A mechanism is set up to identify elderly tenants living in public housing units and not receiving services from the Social Welfare Department. Care teams will visit them. Between July and October 2025, the care teams visited 27,000 tenants and made 1,800 referrals for social welfare services so as to provide more care and support for needy elderly residents. Now, there is also another highlight. This is a scheme to support elderly tenants. For example, we work with the Department of Health, and we also reach out to 60 public housing estates under a health promotion scheme to encourage elderly tenants to adopt a healthy lifestyle. In 2025-26, we continued to work with welfare organizations and care teams, and we ran not less than 500,000 activities to enhance social cohesion and enhance people's sense of happiness. And in the coming years, we'll continue to enhance community network to provide more suitable services for the elderly. Now, on public housing application, we rolled out a number of schemes such as the Single Elderly Persons Priority Scheme and Elderly Persons Priority Scheme, as well as Harmonious Families Priority Scheme. And in the past 10 years, over 70,000 families benefited from these schemes. For elderly PRH tenants above the age of 70 who used to live in bigger flats, if they voluntarily move to a smaller flat or a singleton flat, then they can enjoy a one-off moving subsidy as well as the waiver of rent for life. As for subsidized sale flats, in order to encourage young families to take care of their aging parents or relatives, we have this scheme called Priority Scheme for Families with Elderly Members. We have reserved 40% of the units available for market to elderly members who are aged 60 or above, or families with newborns. They will be given priority. And there is also the flat for flat pilot scheme for elderly owners. These owners will be allowed to sell the flats with premium unpaid in the secondary market. They can then opt for a flat of a smaller size or in a more remote district with premium unpaid. And there are other facilitation measures such as portable social welfare scheme to help Hong Kong residents who live out their retirement life in Guangdong and Fujian, and they are allowed to retain the PRH status for not more than 6 months. Just very quickly, I will go through the well-being design and well-being startup scheme. Now we have come up with the well-being design scheme, and what is crucial is to have the support of residents. I thank district councillors and electrical members for their concern and participation. I thank them for their comments as well. Now I have prepared some pamphlets, and our project has attracted the eyeball of different organizations. In fact, even the UNDP reported on our design guide. Just very quickly, let me go through all these completed projects. For older housing estates, through this facelift, we're able to put in practice what we have in mind. We come up with newer designs, and we've also won awards given by various professional bodies. And we will continue to incorporate these ideas and adopt this approach when it comes to revamping old housing estates. The next scheme is Wellbeing Startup Scheme 2.0. We allow tenants a 7-month rent waiver period. Now, if the market response is good, we will take a progressive approach in demanding rent from them, so that, for example, in the 3rd year, they are required to pay up to 3/4 of the rent, and then the scheme was well received, and then we have further invited the business sector to join us in the Scheme 2.0. 17 organizations have joined us. They have provided up to 60 shop spaces, including pop-up stores as well. Altogether, 70 young people have joined the scheme. In fact, I recently visited a shopping mall, and I found the young people really creative. Now, it's a two-way street, because for the operators of shopping malls and private companies, they are also inspired by how young people do business nowadays. And for support for residents in Wang Fuk Court, we have provided the units to the affected residents, and I'm also a member of this task force to help to provide support to the affected residents. We will explore the medium to long-term rehousing options for the affected residents. In fact, for the medium term, we have allocated some 2,500 units in Po Tin interim housing project to rehouse the 4,300 affected residents. We also have 9,700 units under HOS for sale in the 2025-26 exercise, and perhaps some of them can be reserved for purchase by affected residents in Wang Fuk Court. There is also the Chonga Road public housing project in Tai Po. We will actively consider converting it into a HOS unit. Well, thank you, Secretary, for the very detailed introduction. We do have some new faces, so I've allowed you more time to do your presentation. As for older members, I'm sure that you're familiar with the work of the Bureau. The floor is now open. Let me read out the names of members who will be speaking. Altogether 10. Elaine Chick, Chan Hok Fung, Jody Kwok, Kissen Yang, Scott Leung, Grace Chan, Mark Chong, Chen Pui Kong, Aaron Bok, Dennis Leung, Judy Chan. Not many members, so I will give each of you 4 minutes question and answer. Ms. Elaine Chick. From your PowerPoint, I understand that the model housing estate will be redeveloped. It's not a big estate. It covers some 6 blocks with 650 units in total. But model housing estate is situated right in North Point. It is very hard to look for rehousing options in North Point for residents. Now, the residents are concerned that if redevelopment goes ahead without them being rehoused in North Point, then they may find it very hard to adapt. So I'd like to know more from the government whether the study has begun. When it comes to redevelopment, can we have the details, and what are the rehousing options? Second question. Converting storerooms and vacant spaces in public rental housing estates. I'd like to know the progress of this initiative. As I understand, for some housing estates, such conversion was completed in January. I'd like to have an update, please. How many housing projects are undergoing the same kind of works, and is there a plan to cover more housing estates? Third question, the government has been sparing no effort in increasing the supply of subsidized sale flats. However, there is still a shortfall comparing to the huge demand. HOS in the secondary market with premium unpaid will help increase supply, and that's the WSM initiative. Together with TPS as well as HOS with the private sector's participation, will the government consider including these in the scheme as well? Secretary. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Chick. Now I'll take the questions on redevelopment and subsidized sale flats. As for conversion of public rental housing, I understand that this project is underway. I'll see if the Deputy Director can supplement my answer in a moment. For model housing estate, indeed, it is in North Point. This is a challenge that we often face. For aged housing estates, they're usually situated in aged districts, and it's usually a built-up area, and it's very difficult to find a site for decanting affected residents. And this is exactly why, as I explained, for Matawai Estate, we're able to compress the redevelopment time frame from 3 phases to 2 phases, because for Meitung Estate, it provides more units for rehousing, albeit farther away from Matawai Estate. Now, for Model Housing Estate, it's in North Point, and that it is surrounded by other developed properties with specific uses. We'll do our level best. We may not be able to find some place, a rehousing site nearby, perhaps on the island side, and we will strive to make an announcement for redevelopment of model housing estate within this year. As for subsidized sale flats, let me give you some figures. The landscape has changed. In the past, we often talked about some 4,000 units per year, but in the coming 5 years, we'll be able to produce 59,000 units, and that's 12,000 units in a 5-year period. So more young families will be able to buy subsidized sale flats, and there is also this singleton queue, which is another option for applicants. So if you want to buy subsidized sale flats, and if you're one of the young families, do plan ahead and save up. As for the conversion project, I'll see if the Deputy Director would like to supplement. Thank you for the questions. Converting vacant spaces in public housing projects, we conducted a very detailed examination of existing housing estates to increase public housing supply. In the past few years, we conducted this exercise. We consulted the district councils as well. Everybody has been informed. I do not have some concrete figures to report to members, but in my impression, we have started work and we have converted some of these spaces into units, and we've taken in tenants as well. We are completing other projects, and before their completion, no other new projects will come on stream. Mr. Chan Hok-fung. Thank you, Chairman. Secretary, in terms of housing, this term of government has really done a lot of work to increase supply, including basic housing units, light public housing and transitional housing, so as to shorten the applicants' waiting time. In the community, I've always appealed to the government to improve the housing ladder through relaunching the tenant purchase scheme. This is in fact the aspiration of many PRH tenants. They'd like to be able to buy the flats and be owners of these flats. According to the Housing Authority's recent survey, it is said that not many respondents favored the relaunch of TPS. Now, I'd like to clarify, because according to this statement, you conducted a survey and these respondents are in fact non-PRH residents. I conducted my own survey. Up to 80 to 90% of those already living in TPS estates would like to purchase their flats. So I hope within this year you'll be able to conduct another study. My question is on the timetable of relaunch of TPS. Second point, my observation is this. For example, for some big housing estates in Tung Chung, after population intake, the government has not provided supporting measures. These support services don't keep up with the living condition. There is, for example, no market, no welfare, community facilities, or transport. So please make sure this is done. The third point is about Saiwan Estate, which will be redeveloped. I've been serving my constituents there for many years, and many residents would like to purchase an HOS flat, and I understand that an HOS flat would be built near Cadogan Street. So residents are asking whether they'll be able to buy HOS flats in the same area.
Secretary, thank you. Let me first talk about the TPS. There are diverse views in the community. There are some people who want to see the TPS relaunched, but there are also organizations seeing that we have to use public resources carefully. We have to select carefully which estate to be included in the TPS, including its age, its location. Every year, the Housing Authority talk to us about the feedback of the tenants, their views on the TPS. I think that there are two areas of considerations. There are some 30,000 flats unsold in the existing 39 estates in TPS. Should we include new estates in the TPS? If yes, what kind of estate should we include? How should we enhance the management of these TPS estates? We also have to take into account the owners' corporations to be established. As mentioned, we will roll out the relevant study within this year. We understand that there is a demand for more facilities in public housing estates in Tung Chung. We will work on that. And as for redevelopment, such as the Saiwan Estate you mentioned, whether we can advance the completion date of some of our projects. Well, Saiwan Estate is located on a mountain, so it may take a longer time for us to farm this site. We hear your views. For Choi Hong Estate, opposite it is Wan Chi Court, Sing Chi Court in Kowloon Bay. We may open it up for the existing tenants. I'd like to draw a line here. For those who have not pressed the button to speak, please come down before Ms. KWOK Fu-yung finished her questions. Next to speak, Ms. KWOK Fu-yung. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary. The government is rolling out light public housing, and they are rehousing existing tenants. I have 2 points of concern. As mentioned in the paper, I understand that the Housing Authority has made use of MIC to shorten the construction period of public housing. But both public and private housing are aging in the community. We don't have enough resources for redevelopment. After plugging the short-term demand gap, will the government look into redeveloping some sites in urban area so that we can house the tenants who are affected by public housing redevelopment projects, so that we can enhance quantity, speed, efficiency, and quality? On rehousing tenants affected by redevelopment, well, since 2020, the government have made available 20,000 units for these affected tenants. We have converted some industrial buildings in Yaotong to house these affected tenants. In Chunwan, there are some affected tenants who cannot be housed in the same district, and they have to move to another district. So I wonder if the government can plan ahead so that we can convert old industrial buildings into transitional housing so that we can offer affected tenants temporary residence. Thank you. Secretary. Thank you, Ms. Kwok. Regarding the use of light public housing when they are not in use, well, for some projects they may be in service for a longer time. For some projects they may be converted into buildings of other purposes within 5 years. The demand in community changes all the time. When we designed the light public housing, we have the Cat A tenants in mind. However, the transitional housing now take care of Cat A tenants. Now we have also the basic housing units. When we face unfortunate incidents like the fire in One Foot Court, and when there's flooding, there are tenants and people who need emergency housing. We welcome suggestions and views from the community as to the future use of some of the existing light public housing projects. We welcome any suggestions, and we thank Ms. Kwok for her views. Second, on the industrial building redevelopment, there is an industrial building in Yaotong that will be converted into transitional housing. But there is something special about this particular building because it's owned by a single owner. For industrial buildings with many different owners, things may be more difficult, especially those storing dangerous goods, involving building works. We may not be able to allow some of the units to be turned into residences because it may not be safe. We welcome any offer from owners of industrial buildings. We actually took a long time to negotiate with the owner of that particular industrial building in Yaotong as to how we use it, for example. We can only convert industrial buildings with single use as for this moment. Thank you. Mr. Lerman Kwong. Thank you. I like to applaud the work of the Housing Bureau because we have shortened the waiting time for public rental housing, for example. But we can always do better. Just now we talked about TPS. For districts with many public rental housing, residents are looking forward to the relaunch of TPS. But if we are to relaunch it, we have to innovate. We cannot reuse the old policy. If we are to relaunch the TPS, we have to sell the entire estate instead of adopting the old way of mixed purchase and rent. We hope that tenants can purchase their own flats and own their own home. On the new design of public rental housing, I applaud the Secretary for redesigning the plan of HOS flats. Now the kitchen is no longer facing the door. And I know that the administration will continue to improve their technology. However, the mailboxes are still opened by keys. I think that we should adopt new technology. I think that it would be best if we can have a smart access system so that tenants can enter their buildings by tapping their card on to a sensor. My last point on barrier-free access of old public rental housing estates. I'm glad to see a new escalators in some estates, but Tay Lockman Estate as an example. Residents have to take the staircase to reach the lobby. I think that we should make better use of technology to improve the lives of people living in old housing estates. I hope the administration will step up digitalization. Secretary, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yang. For HOS, we are going to increase the supply. And we need to update this product so that it meets the needs of families better. Now, we have moved the door of these HOS flats to facing the windows instead of facing the kitchens. Now, some families no longer cook, especially the new generation ones. That's why we have adopted an open kitchen design for some of the flats. Now, regarding the access system, we are piloting the use of this digital access system in not just HOS estates, but also PRH estates. But as to what kind of system we adopt, we are still looking into it. Hopefully, very soon we can propose some of the solutions to our members. Next, Ms. Gray Chan. Thank you. I thank the administration for their hard work, especially that on the area of elderly work. I have two questions. First, on the BHU ordinance, it will come into operation on the 1st of March. Some of the SDU tenants were forced out because of the new arrangements. We are worried that there will be more tenants being evicted from their SDUs because of the new ordinance. How can we prevent this from prevailing? I hope that the administration will pay attention to this. Second, when population intakes happen at new PRH estates, very often we have social workers helping the tenants adapt to the new community and build their social network. As far as I understand, the service is offered by a fund, a community fund. And I wonder if we can regulate this kind of service and have it being funded by the government. Because we hope that this the service offered by the social workers can tie in with the housing policy, and can we create an office for these social workers?
Secretary, thank you. Chair, thank you, Ms. Chen. Ms. Chen represents the social welfare sector, and through her, I'd like to express my gratitude to social workers. We do rely on social worker teams in a number of projects, such as transitional housing, like public housing, or even traditional PRH. For example, we have the district service teams under the basic housing unit regulatory regime. They need to visit every household. So when it comes to PRH flat selection, different households may have different considerations, and we need to iron things out to ensure a smooth process. And I'd like to thank social workers for their help. And in fact, for basic housing units, we need social workers to be our communicator. At the district level, if there are things that we should pay attention to, I do hope that the social workers could help us and will definitely provide support. For example, for tenants, in fact, recently we arranged for 2 visits in which tenants could go view the transitional housing units. They might not be familiar with the new development areas, and yet after the visits they might find new shopping places or new job opportunities. Some elderly tenants may not want to go elsewhere, but in fact many do. They just don't know how to fill in the forms. So this is where social workers come in. As for private housing, I think, Chair, you're familiar with this. We do ask the estate agents to help, and we have a number of options, such as hostels for singletons, operated by the Salvation Army, as well as transitional housing, or those applying for light public housing as well. Some applicants might not have checked the mailboxes regularly. In fact, the letters have been sent, and we do rely social workers to maintain the network of communication. So do tell us the needs of the community so that we can join hands in seeing these things through. As for new housing estates, be it transitional housing, light public housing, or new public housing, our work complements that of the social workers. In terms of estate management, myself and my team will definitely actively consider enlisting the help of social workers, or at least those with a social worker background. Mr. Mark Chong. The Secretary just now mentioned the housing ladder. The government has worked tirelessly to help people achieve home ownership aspirations. Now, for some, this is a sweet dream, but for others, it's a nightmare. I don't think public housing should be confused with private housing in the free market. Some owners are having nightmares because they need to pay rent, pay government rent and rates. They need to pay management fees, and they also need to save up for building maintenance bills. For public housing tenants, they only need to pay rent. In fact, last week, according to media reports, an owner of a flat under the TPS scheme was harassed by a PRH tenant for up to 120 days. This owner complained against this troublemaker to the housing department and the property management office, but it seems that there is an impasse. For public housing tenants, they are under a point deduction scheme. For serious matters, they may be driven out of their public housing units. But we can do it the other way round. Say if it's the owner of the flat under the TPS who then harasses the tenant of the public housing, then it's unfair because this owner will never be evicted. Mr. Chan Hok Fung just now talked about the TPS. I want to know whether you will come up with something like a TPS 2.0 that can protect both tenants and owners in the same housing estates, because I'm worried that despite the good intentions, you may roll out a new scheme, but will be very difficult in actual operation. Secretary, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Now, in fact, we have had this experience of dealing with this sort of problems in the TPS estates. Our colleagues are aware of the incident you mentioned. We have had ongoing communications with the tenants. The tenant may started off acting normal, but then for some reason the tenant might then get emotional, and the tenant might start to attack. So imagine the predicament of the frontline staff. The frontline staff member may start with a gentle reminder or a warning, but then things might get worse. According to the explanation, this tenant used to be a good friend with the tenant upstairs, and very often the friend would bring food and hang the bag of food on the door, but unbeknown to that tenant, the friend actually moved away. This unit was then taken up by a new owner. So, Mr. Zhang, I'd like to explain to you that last year we improved the points deduction system for acts set out such as noise nuisance. We could deduct points, and according to experience, we'll continue to review and improve the mechanism. When it comes to the relaunch of TPS, we need to have regard of various aspects such as building maintenance and management. And Mr. Zhang also referred to the housing ladder. Indeed, subsidized sale flats are not the same as flats in the private market. For example, we have the alienation restriction for up to 10 years without premium unpaid. This owner will not be able to sell the subsidized sale flat in the 10-year restriction period. This is how we separate the HOS market from the private market. We don't want HOS to become a tool of speculation. And that is the rationale behind the 10-year alienation restriction. For those aged owners who have paid off the mortgage, we do understand that adjustment is needed, and definitely the Policy Bureau will continue to look into these matters and conduct studies. But do bear in mind that if it's a TPS estate, you won't be able to deduct points from the owner. Right, please follow up on this point on another occasion, Mr. Zhang. Your time is up. Mr. Chan Pui-kong. Right, same call. I want relaunch of TPS. Before I became a district councillor, I already championed the relaunch of TPS, and then I became district councillor, and now I am a council member here, and I will continue to ask for the relaunch of TPS. I understand there are divergent views in the community, but I still think that the benefits will outweigh the challenges. Take Kowloon East as an example, especially Kwun Tong. Kwun Tong is the poorest district in Hong Kong, and I'd say this is because of the concentration of public housing in Kwun Tong. Now that the government has tightened up the well-off tenant policy, those left behind in public housing are really living in poverty. If you do not allow them to save up and buy their PRH flats eventually, then Kwun Tong will remain the poorest district in Hong Kong, and people will continue to carry this label. I think relaunching the TPS will be conducive to tackling poverty. Another point is that the design of the well-off tenant policy is such that when children grow up, they start to take up a job and they may leave the home, and then these aging parents will need to pay more than double the rent, or their children will have to leave home, and this is not really family friendly. If the government wants to encourage young people to take care of their families, you should do something about this policy. So all in all, this year you're going to conduct a study. When will we know the outcome? Would it be the second half of the year? And also a study into relaunch of the TPS, please. Secretary, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Zhang, for the questions. I think I already gave the answer on TPS, and I will repeat again that we will consider all the factors I mentioned. Next, Mr. Dennis Leung. Thank you, Chair. I'm concerned about management of TPS estates. Now, this is in fact a common concern. There are two modes of management. You either outsource the management or you manage the estate yourself. The housing authority should plan ahead to maintain the quality of the buildings so as to maintain people's sense of bliss. The housing authority takes part in the meetings of OC on of the HOS and TPS estates on matters such as building maintenance. Now, after this Wang Fuk Court fire, I hope that the housing department will take up a more active role in maintaining the quality of building maintenance. The other point is about public housing and vandalism, such as, say, fire doors and other facilities. They are often vandalized, and it takes a long time to repair them. There are also other estates with aged lifts, such as Kwai Chung Onyam estates. Their lifts are under repair with quite little progress. The situation is not satisfactory. So in the future, for lift replacement exercises, will you require the contractors to compress or timetable? Either they draw up a roster or they extend the working hours so as to complete the lift works as quickly as possible and keep people happy.
Secretary, I thank Mr. Leung for his questions. We do have to work on the issues that he mentioned. For estates that which management are done by ourselves or are outsourced, they are treated the same by us. As long as they are estates managed by or under the Housing Bureau, we try to enhance the management efficiency. As to how we align the management level, we welcome suggestions from Mr. Dennis Leung. Mr. Leung said that we should be proactive in estate management. That's our theme in talking to our staff as well. We always have to plan ahead. We shouldn't tackle problems only when it happens. Before complaints are received, we should always try to identify if there's any problems with our management. For fire, a resilient door or smoke doors. Thank you for your reminder. The smoke doors have to be closed at all times. When some of the smoke doors are kept open by certain residents, we will issue warning to them. We do have mobile CCTVs. When we see repeated problems or when we see smoke doors being opened multiple times, we will install those mobile CCTVs there. Next, Ms. Judy Chan. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Ho, the Secretary for Housing, and your team deserve a recognition for your work on your efforts in combating abuse of PRH, on your efforts in building light public housing, and on phasing out substandard subsidized units. I'd like to applaud your work. What I want to say is that we are faced with an aging population on top of aging buildings. Now, on this issue of an aging population that we're facing in Hong Kong, we have to work on our public housing policy. We should not just offer an accommodation for the people. This is an issue, or this is a policy that has everything to do with people's lives. I know that you are visiting many elderly singletons and doubletons. Many issues have emerged because of an aging population. We see many tragedies happening this decade. I think that we should focus our policy on this problem. Say, for example, regarding the Matawai or Saiwan Estate redevelopment project, I think that we should take this opportunity to work on a policy. When we ask the elderly tenants or residents to move, we should help them in locating these elderly tenants who have a hard time taking care of themselves to elderly homes. Or perhaps we can ask them to move to the Greater Bay Area under our retirement schemes so that these elderly tenants won't have to move to elderly homes after being rehoused for a couple of years. I think that this is how we can help them. Thank you. I wonder if the administration will take on board my suggestion. Secretary, thank you, Ms. Chan, for your recognition and your encouragement. Society changes. There are always things that we can improve regarding our housing policy. Over the past 10 years, the percentage of elderly tenants aged over 60 years old have increased to 740,000. We thank Ms. Chen for her suggestions. On we have installed handrails as a hardware improvement, and we have also installed sensors at some of the doors of elderly tenants to improve elderly tenants' life, and we try to arrange more visits to their homes. Our colleagues have created a list of elderly residents living in PRH estates. For those aged over 80 years old, 90 years old, we will make more frequent visits. We also work with many community organizations. There are many dental service providers who have been reaching out to us. They want to arrange for mobile service to our tenants. We create a parking space for these mobiles so that tenants can receive eye care, dental care, these mobile vehicles. This kind of service will be very popular among districts with a high density of elderly population. I thank Ms. Chan for her suggestions. At the time when we are rehousing elderly tenants, we will arrange for social service teams to take a particular care of them. Thank you. Next, Mr. Vincent Chang. Thank you, Chairman. The BHU ordinance will come into operation on 1st of March. I see multiple promotion campaigns launched by the Housing Bureau. I think that is a good thing so that the landlords and tenants can make preparations. Well, starting from the 1st of March, I believe that people would be aware of the new arrangements. We have ample time for the landlords and tenants to make preparations. When the new ordinance comes into operation, we can improve the living conditions of those living in substandard SDUs. However, starting from the 1st of March, I believe that there will also be landlords who try to cheat the system. Well, the Ratings and Valuation Department look into unfair cases when the ordinance on regulating the rentals of SDUs was launched. I think that is unreasonable for SDU landlords to evict their tenants unfairly because of the BHU ordinance. There are many SDU tenants who want to move to transitional housing or light public housing. I thank the Secretary for creating this Category C for LPH. I hope that the Secretary will make available some transitional housing units for SDU tenants who have short-term housing needs. On estate agents, well, I think we can work with them because they know a lot of SDU landlords. By this, we can make better preparations. Our ultimate goal is to have substandard SDU tenants improve their living conditions. I hope that we can do things right. Secretary, thank you. We understand that the promotion is very important, both before and after the operation of the ordinance. We don't want any misinformation. The government will step up explanation. If any social or community organizations need us to come down for explanation, we are glad to do that. Since the passage of the Basic Housing Unit Ordinance till the 1st of March, our colleagues have visited many different professional bodies, organizations, state agency, council for explanation. We repeat ourselves tirelessly so that people get the right information. We have a team of 50 staff members in the RVD, including retired police officers. They keep a close eye on the rental market to make sure that everyone is in compliance with the laws. If we identify any irregularities, we will take enforcement action. Now, on transitional housing in urban areas, their turnover is very fast, and it can go up to as high as 180%. Some of the tenants have already been housed in a PRH flats, and after they are housed there, their flats will be made available. I think that your suggestion is great. We may set aside some of the TH flats for affected SDU tenants. Next, Dr. Junius Ho. Thank you. The information on the Secretary's presentation is abundant. This is my this is the third time I returned as a Legislative Council member. Well, for public rental housing, well, we also have transitional housing. We have private housing on the market. We have luxurious private housing. We have squatters. We have subdivided units. I think that there are no less than 400,000 squatter tenants. For SSF owners, well, we may be relaunching TPS. We have GHS, we have HOS, WSM. For people purchasing starter homes, we offer them some discount. We have people living in private residential property. We do have some sort of figures, but we don't know, say, for example, how many people are residing in private residential property. I know that there are 13,000 IOs. There are some people living in other forms of housing, some 38,000 living in single towers. It seems that 12% of people are living in private residential property. Does it mean that the rest of the population is residing in public housing? I hope that you can give us a pie chart to show us how many people are living in what kind of housing. I believe that you have the most comprehensive sets of numbers. I hope that you can offer us such information. We have some 800,000 public housing units. The Permanent Secretary said that we have recovered some 9,800 units. We have saved $1 billion. In aggregate, we will have some 387,000 units under TPS. We are to combat abuse of public rental housing, and we are evicting well-off tenants. But it seems that the we don't have the figures on how many units are being surrendered. We have caught some 1% of people abusing public housing. We have many people coming on one-way permit. We have a low birth rate. How can we solve the housing problem over the long run? Some public rental housing tenants have been in their flats for some 20 to 30 years. How come they have not moved up the housing ladder? I think that we have to make good use of our public resources. We should not allow public housing tenants have their flats passed on to their next generation. Thank you.
Secretary, share with us your wisdom, but please answer Dr. Ho's question succinctly. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. Ho, for the two questions about the mix of private-public housing in Hong Kong. I'd say it's almost half-half. That's 50-50 between those owning a flat and those renting a flat. Another 50-50 for private versus public housing. If you want exact figures, we will provide them to you, Dr. Ho, later. In fact, my colleague has shared this chart with me, but I'm not going to read out the figures now. I'd like to explain our policy against PRH abuse. In the past 3 years, we recovered 9,800 flats. We require every household to declare whether they own any property in Hong Kong or elsewhere. Now, if they make a declaration of no property ownership in Hong Kong, and yet by checking against the information from the Lands Registry, if he is a property owner, then it's a criminal offense for making this a false declaration. The penalty could be one of imprisonment. Right, I know this is about perjury, but I'm not talking about this matter in dispute. I'm just saying that in the long term, if you don't ask PRH tenants to surrender their flats, it would be pointless. Now, Dr. Ho, I say that the majority of PRH tenants are law-abiding. Let's give the floor back to the Secretary. We left no stone unturned, and through this process we were able to identify these abuse cases. The next step is to encourage PRH tenants to move up the housing ladder, and that's the rationale of the well-off tenant policy. We increase the additional rent for well-off tenants so as to bring the level on par with that in the private market. This will incentivize the well-off tenants to surround their flats. The other step on the ladder is subsidized sale flat. Now, there is a problem with supply of subsidized sale flats. In the past, only 3,000, 4,000 units would come on stream every year. Through the work of the government, in the coming 5 years, every year there will be 12,000 units in total. So we share the same goal through this diversified approach. We strive to increase housing supply and improve the housing ladder. Next, Mr. Aaron Bok. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to see the good work of the government. I'd like to congratulate the Housing Bureau for meeting the housing production target. We're concerned about construction cost and time frame. Earlier, I made this suggestion to the government. Is it possible to do something about the CEDD and the housing department within the government? In terms of division of work, one department is in charge of site formation and infrastructure. The other department is responsible for the construction of the buildings. Is there a way to improve interfacing so that one party can take up all the work and improve coordination? Because starting from today, if it takes 2 or 3 years for the first step and 4 or 5 years for the next one, it would be too long. But if we're able to combine the two, we can speed things up. The second question is about basic housing unit. As I understand, this regime will be implemented in March 2027. That means within a year, starting from the 1st of March this year, all BHUs will have to be registered. We have 110,000 subdivided units in Hong Kong. The Housing Bureau should report back to this panel in 3 or 4 months about the registration of basic housing units, because not many people would jump to the chance to get registered at the outset. They might wait till the very end, and then there could be a major problem towards the end of the registration period. We want to keep track of the registration status. Secretary, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Bok, for the questions. In fact, Mr. Bok talked about the interface between the CDD and the Housing Department. In fact, 3.5 years ago, when this term of office first started, we took note of this issue for a large site. Instead of waiting for site formation to be completed in one go, we ask for the site to be broken down so that piling works could commence early. There are also other initiatives. For example, the CDD would bring forward the process of providing information on the design of piling so that we can complete the design of buildings earlier. In fact, Deputy Director just now explained Meta Sedimentary Rock. Again, this is an initiative in collaboration with the CDD. We have a high-level meeting comprising myself and the director, and if there is another opportunity, I'll be happy to elaborate on our collaboration with the CDD and how we manage to speed up the projects. As for the basic housing unit, we understand that not everyone would get registered right away, and that is why we've introduced the early bird scheme. For the first batch of registration, these applicants will enjoy a waiver of fees. And if you come in late, you may have to pay the amount in full. We encourage people to get registered early. So we will keep track of the numbers and report to members. We'll also mount publicity. Right, I'm the last one to speak. The first point is about estate management. Secretary just now responded by referring to transitional housing and light public housing, and that the property management companies would be engaged. The companies would work with the social welfare organizations. It has proven to be effective. Now, I also went on a visit with the Secretary to one of these projects, and indeed, the social welfare needs of residents are met. The estates are properly managed. So, will the government consider introducing the same model of welfare organization, property management company collaboration in new estates? The second question is about upward mobility. You have, say, GSH and WSM schemes to help people move up the housing ladder, but there should be additional incentives. For well-off tenants, I reiterate, apart from demanding them to pay additional rent and giving them more ballot chances to get HOS allocation, are there other ways? Are there other options such as helping them save up? The third point is about basic housing unit. I understand that the practical guide under the BS6 regulatory regime has been promulgated. I mean, the draft has been promulgated. I discussed this guide with the renovation companies and also operators of subdivided units. Basically, they could just follow your guide in providing basic housing units. In fact, the draft provides all the specific details marked in blue, including the size of different fittings, components. So can you provide more details to help them lower the cost? And about the fireproof materials, again, can you provide more specific details regarding what standards to be adopted? It would be nice if you could provide a model unit for reference so as to help you roll out the regime more smoothly. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Estate management. How do we place a stronger emphasis on service provision? We can consider pilot schemes, or we can require the property management team to comprise members with different backgrounds, such as those with social welfare background or healthcare background. Incentives for people to move up the housing ladder. In fact, we enhanced the well-off tenant policy, and that you can retain the green form status for up to 4 years. We also provide extra ballots for young families, etc. And we welcome suggestions to further enhance the policy. BXU. We do have this model unit in mind. I thank Chair for the suggestion. We plan to place samples of building materials there as well, say for the fireproof partition walls. We want people to see exactly how thick it would be or what materials they should use. Right. Thank you, Secretary. Members have all expressed views on this topic. I'm sure that the government will continue to exchange views with members on housing policies on other occasions. That's the end of today's discussion. Thank you.
好，咁今日我哋都等佢哋。好，咁我哋都等候少少時間啊。
Let's have our colleagues arrange the seats first with the government officials for the next item. Please come in. Thank you. Item number 4, Head 711 Project number B092 TI, Public Transport Interchange at Tung Chung Area 133B. Welcome government representatives for attending the meeting. I will not name the officials. Would the administration walk us through the paper? I know they have a set of PowerPoint slides. Please. Chairman, members, good afternoon. Thank you for bearing with us for the past 2 hours on our presentation. We'd like to brief members of the project B092TI on the public transport interchange at Tung Chung Area 133B so that we can upgrade the project to Category A. We'd also like to collect members' views and suggestions on the project so that we can improve it. We will submit the improved finance proposals for the Public Works project for endorsement and Finance Committee for approval. I'd like to take a few minutes to brief members of the project. To meet the needs of the new population of the nearby public rental housing, we propose to build a public transport interchange. In accordance with the OZP, we propose to build a public transport interchange of about 6,000 square meter at the ground floor of the podium of the development. We have 6 pickups or drop-off bays for franchised bus that are marked in purple, as well as 2 parking bays for 6 franchise buses parking or charging that are marked in pink. We will build 3 regulators' offices and toilets for franchised bus operators at this PTI that are marked in gray. We will also commence associated works including roadworks, drainage and sewage systems, lighting facilities, fire services system, ventilation system, electrical and mechanical systems, and public toilets, etc. The public toilet is marked in green. This is the artist impression of the PTI. You can see the design of it here. On this image, you can see the interior design of this PTI. The franchised bus in the image is where the parking base is, and over the left and right, they are the pickup and drop-off bays. On the 5th of September 2022, we have consulted the Islands District Council about the public housing developments at Tung Chung Area 133, including the proposed PTI. No district council members objected to the proposal. On the timetable, in order to start the construction as soon as possible, we are already conducting tenders. We will submit the funding proposals to the PWSC and Finance Committee as soon as possible within 2026. After the project is approved by the Finance Committee, we expect that the PTI works will commence also within this year. The works will be completed within 4 years in tandem with the PhDs of Tung Chung Area 133B on project estimates. The estimate is about $221.6 million in money of the day prices. The cost of builder works will account for about 55% of the total cost. The cost of building service works will account for 25%, and the on-cost payable to Hong Kong HA and contingencies will account for about 20%. We have invited tenders in parallel. Upon completion of the tender assessment, we will include it with a breakdown in the funding proposals of the works for submission to the Public Works Subcommittee, having made reference to the return tender price. Thank you. Members, if you have any direct or indirect pecuniary interest in relation to the project, please act in accordance with Rule 83A of the Rules of Procedure. Disclose the nature of your interest. Please also pay attention to Rule 84 of the Rules of Procedures in case of voting regarding voting in case of direct pecuniary interest. Members who have pressed the button include Dennis Leung, Tung Chung Area, and Chen Hok-fong. Each member will have 4 minutes, including question and answer. Mr. Dennis Leung. Thank you, Chairman. I think that this project is necessary. We have a similar project in Kempton, and we approved it. I believe that they have made reference to the design of the bus stop at Queen's Hill Estate. There is soundproof design incorporated. I have some areas of concern. I'd like to know more about the width of the pedestrian walkways and the pickup and drop-off bays. We need to make sure that there will not be any congestion. I visited Queen's Hill Estate bus stop and the PTIs. The air conditions was very good and it was quite quiet. Now the Taiwan PTI used to be very noisy and the ventilation system was not up to par. I believe that they have made improvement. How do we make sure that this PTI in Tung Chung Area 133B will be quiet enough and will be well ventilated? Thank you. Thank you for the question. Regarding the design of this PTI, we follow closely with the government standards. We believe that the 6 lanes will be enough. The width of the pedestrian facilities are wide enough. We don't foresee any congestion. On ventilation, as you can see, there are windows on both sides. During heated days and summer days, we do have a mechanical ventilation system so that there will be sufficient airflow. We try to be environmentally friendly so that residents can benefit. Thank you. Chairman, I think that it's best for us to have less concrete walls. I hope that they will review the design. No reply is needed. Well, I can answer your question, Mr. Leung. The image may not reflect fully our design. Our first draft was full of walls, but after reviewing our design, we have replaced those walls with pillars instead, so that it's better ventilated. This is how we can enhance the airflow in the PTI. Thank you. Next, Mr. Chen Hok-fong. I'm concerned about the cost, which is about $220 million. This is not the return tender price, am I right? Because the Fanlin North Area 15 PTI and Shenshui Area 4 and Area 30 PTI, I've compared their cost to this one. They cost about $150 to $170 million. However, this project in Chongqing costs some $200 million. I don't know how much population this interchange serves. It is only said in the paper that the estate will house about 7,600 people. But the PTI in Fanlin North will served 37,000. The Shenshui PTI served about 20,000 people. So I wonder how many people this PTI will serve. I believe that it will not only cater to the residents of the estate next to it. Thank you. Let me address the questions on cost effectiveness and how many residents it serves. Mr. Chong talked about Fanlin North Area 15 PTI. The PTI is about 6,800 square meters. The Fanlin North Area 15 PTI, it is only of 5,800 square meters. The Shenshui Area 4 PTI is of 7,300 square meters. If we are to make apple-to-apple comparison, as you can see in our design image, we have some soundproof facilities and chargers. We have many toilets. If we add these facilities to the old and built PTIs, the cost would be comparable. If we add the cost of these extra facilities to the existing projects, the Fanlin Area 15 PTI will be the most expensive one. The second most expensive is the Sungshui PTI. The Tung Chung PTI will be the cheapest. We think that the price tag of this project is very reasonable. As Mr. Chung said, this is only an estimate. We can only include the return tender price in the proposal submitted to the PWSC. What is the second question? I hope I've answered your question. Thank you. The population served. Right. In Tung Chung, there will be 3 PTIs. They will serve about 30 to 40,000 people because the 3 PTIs will be serving the entire Tung Chung East extension. Next, Mr. Chang Hok-fung. Thank you, Chairman. This PTI is very important to Tung Chung East. We're seeing population intake in many estates in Tung Chung East. As mentioned, there will be 3 PTIs in the area. I wonder what the positioning of these PTIs are or is. This PTI is not that far away from the Tung Chung East station, but it's not close either. What is the positioning of these 3 PTIs? Many Tung Chung East residents would like to see more woods because there are only 6 pickup and drop-off bays. And wonder if you will make available or design more space for new routes. Now, the PTI is designed with one-way lanes. There are many PTIs in Tung Chung adopting the same design. I think it's rather dangerous because when passengers are trying to chase after a bus, it may be dangerous. I wonder if you will put in place pedestrian crossing. And judging from the image, it seems that the queue or the pedestrian waiting area is not sufficient. Have you set aside space for that? Thank you.
Director, let me take the last questions first. About alignment, I will give the floor to the Transport Department. Now, about the bus base, At the PTI at Tung Chung Area 133B, we've conducted a TIA for Tung Chung New Town. This PTI is situated quite close to the waterfront, and at the waterfront, the developments include schools, commercial properties, and other buildings that are not high-rise buildings. And that these developments are not proceeding as quickly as this proposed PTI. So there is a trade-off. When it comes to planning for routes, we need to consider the welfare facilities in a public housing project as well. And there is also a clearance restriction of 130 meters. So we've basically exhausted the available space at grade. Of course, in the future, we will discuss with the Transport Department, and there will be flexibility. We take a four-pronged strategy. That means the original design entails just 3, and now we have increased the number to 6. This is how we keep things flexible, and we also have regard to traffic demand. We will discuss with the Transport Department about the proposed routes and alignments, stops, and if necessary, we will arrange for the PTI to serve more routes. Thirdly, if need be, we will talk to the Transport Department and make sure that more stops will be provided, so that the residents will be able to use the PTI, and in the vicinity of the PTI, we will suitably adjust other bus stops at bay so as to achieve traffic diversion. That way, we can provide flexibility for the PTI. About access and egress. Our design is to have pedestrian crossing near access and egress of the PTI. But indeed, if the design involves having pedestrians traversing the bus routes, then there is a need to revise it. We will keep in view the situation, but this is at the moment the design that we adopt. As you can see, for this part in blue in the PTI, is quite spacious comparing to other PTIs for queues. Right, the next question is about bus routes. I'll give the floor to my colleague in the Transport Department. Thank you. Mr. Chan referred to the 3 PTIs in Tung Chung East. I can go through the locations of these 3 PTIs with you. One is the Chang Tung Estate Terminus, which will receive residents this quarter in Area 99. It serves residents in Chang Tung Estates. It connects the public housing near Chang Tung Estate to the Tung Chung Station, as well as other long hauls of the franchise bus services. In the past 2 or 3 years, through the bus route development program, we have arranged for 12 improvement projects. The second one is the terminus near Tung Chung East Station in Area 113. We plan joint commissioning of the bus terminus and the Tung Chung East Station. The function of this terminus is to provide feeder service to Tung Chung East Station, with the neighboring areas. There will also be long hauls serving residents living farther away in Phase 3. As for the PTI that we are talking about is in Area 133B of Tung Chung. This PTI will serve residents in Area 133, especially for residents who need to travel to Tung Chung West, Tung Chung Town Center, as well as other areas of the new territories. This will be the transport hub in Tung Chung East. It will also be the major hub for franchise bus services. Thank you. Next, Dr. Junius Ho. Thank you, Chair. I support this item, and that's B092T1 Public Transport Interchange at Tung Chung Area 133. Now basically, this PTI will be situated next to a public housing project. You are going to spend $200 million, as I understand, on this PTI, and it won't be completed until 4 years later, 2030. Is that right? Have you started the project? You want this question answered first? As I understand, the housing development project will commence together with the PTI's construction, the superstructure, right? Or has it started? Please allow me to elaborate. Subject to funding approval, we will start superstructure construction in the end of 2026. After piling works are completed, the site will be passed seamlessly onto the contractor for superstructure development. Right, so we have the PTI at grade and also buildings on top. So we spent $200 million on this PTI. What about the construction cost for the superstructure? I see this table in paragraph 8. There is a table, $200 million. And part of this cost will be apportioned. So piling works will not be contributed to this PTI project only, and that for the whole project it will take about $3 billion. Say how much of the piling cost should be apportioned to this project? Is it about 8%? Deputy Director. Well, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. Junius Ho, for coming up with this figure of 8%. We're in the tendering process. I don't think it's right for me to give an estimate now. In terms of cost apportionment, take we do the calculation on the basis of the floor area, construction floor area. So take the PTI as an example. We occupy up to about 30% of the floor area, but that differs from in one contract to another. So all I can say is that the cost will be apportioned according to the construction floor area of the PTI. So in the future, who owns the PTI? Is it the housing department or transport department or franchise bus companies? After funding the construction, do we get any return in the future? Deputy Director. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dr. Ho. When it comes to the dollar sign, we need to be extra careful. Now, as I said, the government has commissioned the Housing Authority to build the PTI, and as set out in the paper, we have on cost payable to the Housing Authority that's about 12.5% set aside. The sum covers design, tendering, supervision, management. So the on cost includes the above, totaling some 12.5%. Afterwards, the PTI will be passed on to our works department for maintenance and management, such as the transport department, highways department, LCSD, or because of the toilet facilities as well as the FEHD. Thank you. I also have a question about the PTI. I understand that many new projects have adopted a new design to include an air-conditioned waiting lounge. And can you explain why this hasn't been included in your design? What's the thinking behind? Thank you, Chair. Indeed, in private developments, nowadays the PTIs come with a waiting lounge, which is air-conditioned. But after all, this is a public housing project. The PTI is quite large. If we add an air-conditioned waiting lounge in a PTI, it will take up part of the floor area. And this will affect the number of units that we are able to build. To promote sustainable development, we strive not to rely on air conditioning. Instead, we build open type PTIs that could facilitate airflow. And we have therefore not included air-conditioned waiting lounge in a PTI. I see Mr. Mark Zhang would like to follow up on this matter. Just very briefly, please. Right, this is on traffic implications in paragraph 11 of the paper. It is said that it will not cause adverse impact on the local traffic. But I remember for Dan Guai estate in Hong Kwook, during public housing construction, there was a serious traffic congestion. So for this site, one must pass this area before reaching Tung Chung Town Center. So I'd like to know what traffic management measures you have in mind. Thank you for the question. There is this Oyster Bay PTI near the Siu Ho Wan depot. And we have works vehicles. Upon completion of projects in area 133A or B or C or 114, 117, most works vehicles will use the route near Siu Ho Wan. We will avoid plying the streets of Tung Chung Town Center, and if there is a need to, if something goes wrong, we'll definitely consult stakeholders first. That means at least we wish to inform the affected parties first. So once the areas 133A, B, C are commissioned, we will take that route, and by doing so, we will avoid using the roads in Tung Chung Town Center. Right, I see that the members have put questions. The last question is whether members support the submission of this item to the PWSC for consideration. Yes, I see that there is general support. This matter will be submitted to the PWSC for further discussion. Next, any other business? If there is no other business, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.